I'm muted. And we are back, the KAPPTOR Connection Conference 3, Day 2, Session 2. And we have a very, very special guest here with us, my brother David Vrablik. Welcome, David. We can't hear you yet. No audio yet.
Oh, there we go. I'm good to go.
Okay,
Sorry about.
wonderful. Yeah. David Vrablik is from the New Beginnings Motivation Community. We are so excited to have you here with us in the room and looking forward to your presentation, David.
Thank you so much, Juanita. It is so good to be back on the meticulous stage with you guys. It is always a absolute honor to get to hang out with you, Juanita. Alejandro, it's nice to finally meet you, sir.
Yeah.
This is an absolute honor because there's so many big moving things within the New Beginnings community. And the one topic that I wanted to talk on today is about uh, not waiting for tomorrow and taking action today, because there was a time in my life that I waited for um, things. I was always told that I needed to be patient and that I needed to trust the process. And that was one of the things I always hated to hear from school teachers, doctors, employers that I used to work for. And I used to live my life like that. And for a lot of years, probably close to 20, 25 years, um, I was living not my authentic life. And if you know New Beginnings, for those who don't, our tagline is discover your true authentic self. And up until about 2018, was how I lived my life. And it took a tragedy for me to realize that I wasn't living my authentic life. And on April 19th, 2018, tragedy struck my family. My older brother, Joe, passed away at the age of 39 from an aortic dissection. And for those who don't know what an aortic dissection is, the easiest way that I can explain it is imagine a brain aneurysm and how it explodes in your head when the aneurysm drops. That's the same thing that happened in the heart. The aortic wall at the bottom of his heart wall tore, and within 2 minutes he lay down on the floor while the paramedics were rushing to him, and he was gone. He passed away in the bathroom, in a bathroom stall, not alone, thank God. He had two guys that he worked with that were in the room with him as he took his last breath. And as the paramedics were rushing to him, there was nothing they could do. And I had a very, very difficult time to deal with that, everybody. Not only because he was my older brother, but he was my hero. He still is. Everything that I do within New Beginnings, all the programs, all the teachings, all the talks that I do is based on from my life experience. I don't have a college degree because I was told from a very young age I wasn't going to be able to go to college. I wasn't going to be able to succeed. And every time somebody told me that, I always thought of my older brother, that when he said he was going to do an Ironman, there were people within his community that said, why do you want to do an Ironman? And you're not going to be able to do it. 2018, he was going for number 15 in Kona, Hawaii. The championship, the world championship. He was selected as the legacy program. And when those teachers told me, doctors and others in my life, that I wasn't going to succeed, I always live my life now as an example of what my brother did. I took his loss and the pain that I still have in my heart every single day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't say, Joe, I love you. Sleep tight. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And we talk every single day. And when he passed away at the age of 39, when he did not have any heart issues. I was the one with the heart issues. I had open heart surgery in 1984. And then I had multiple heart procedures from 2004 to 2006 because of that heart surgery from 1984. I was constantly in and out of the hospital as a kid. So here's a guy, right, that trained his body and his heart and his soul and his mind. And that if somebody that told him that he couldn't do something, I loved his tagline. It was always, don't tell me you can't. And there were a few other choice words that I won't say today. And he would go after it like a bulldog. He lived his life every single day that it could be his last. And that's how I live my life every single day. And that's why today I want to talk about, if you ever feel like you're an underdog in your life, my friends, guess what? The greatest thing about being an underdog, we're never out. Look at all the athletes. Kurt Warner, that was working at a grocery store. He became one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL history. I know a lot of people say Tom Brady, but Kurt Warner is one of my all-time favorites, and he's one of the best. But he was the underdog. There's a movie based on him about being the American underdog. He had the mindset that he was going to live every single day, that he was going to lay everything on the table and chase after his dreams. And imagine standing at the base of a mountain in your base camp, whatever challenges are in your life, and you're looking up at the summit and imagining your dream life up on that summit. I can imagine that you're going to do whatever it takes to get up to that mountaintop. And a lot of people are going to try to stop you along the journey because they're going to be scared for you, or you're going to want to give up. But the only person that can stop you from chasing your dream and becoming your true authentic self is you. What I always tell people is, don't wait for tomorrow. That is the biggest lesson that I learned from the death of Joe. Like I said earlier, he never had any medical issues. And just like that, he was taken from us. 4 years after that, I slip on ice. I smack my head on the concrete. 3 brain bleeds. My brain is swelling. I remember waking up in ICU. And I remember hearing the nurses saying, this kid is lucky that we don't have to drill burr holes to alleviate the pressure. 2 weeks after that, my neurosurgeon's office jumps into action because I find out later that I didn't know we had this in our head, but cerebral tonsils that were poking through the base of my skull, and that was because of the head injury. My cerebral tonsils dropped to 4 millimeters. I was told after they went back up and resettled that it becomes fatal when it's 5 millimeters. A couple of weeks after that, I get diagnosed with thyroid cancer at the age of 39. And I have a reminder right here on my throat because they took the cancer out and I'm cancer free as of today. But all of those examples that I just shared with you is I could have easily given up and just stayed in my room at my house and not chased after my dreams, shut New Beginnings Motivation down and not share my story. But I realized in that moment that every single day is a gift. And if I'm not going to share my message and connect with amazing individuals like everybody you've heard on this platform this week, with Dr. Rob, with J.R. Spear, with Jose Escobar, myself, other amazing individuals who I don't know yet, if you do not listen to those stories and get inspired to share your own story, not only are you doing a disservice to yourself by not sharing that story, but you're also possibly taking away the opportunity to save somebody's life, because your story could change and possibly inspire someone to go get help. So are you going to live every single day that it could be potentially your last and chase after those dreams and goals? And I'm not saying that to scare everybody, because at some point we all do pass away. But the depression in our country is so high right now. Instead of living in constant fear, let's live with fear and live life on our terms by making a difference and creating a movement where people are going to want to be a part of instead of living in the darkness. Let's be the light during dark times. Let's push for that summit. The great thing about a summit is, especially in Colorado, the Rocky Mountains are so expansive and so massive and gorgeous. There's plenty of room up there for all of us. So are you going to push for that summit and shout your anthem? Let's live every single day as a gift. Let's tell everybody that we love and care about, that we love them. And let's discover our true, authentic self. Thank you, my sister. This is always an incredible opportunity to be here with you guys. I love you so much. And it's a privilege to know you.
Thank you, David. We absolutely love hearing about New Beginnings Motivation and the story with Joey. I mean, our sincerest condolences. It's a horrible thing when, someone outlives their parents, for instance. Their parents outlives them. And it's not the natural order. So when I first heard the story about Joey, my heart was so touched. And I'm so happy that you are going out there in the world and using this traumatic experience, one of many, to change the lives of others, to positively influence and impact them. Because there's someone out there that needs to hear that today. There's someone that needs to have that encouragement. And what I love about what you said as well is you mentioned that, the Rockies, it's so big up there. There's place for all of us. And we can climb up there and we can shout our anthems and do so proudly and really invest in each other's lives. I think that's a very important part of entrepreneurship as well. I met David last year online, and I think he's been on Meticulous Moments a few times. And I'm part of his New Beginnings Motivation group, and I'm also on his team. We do projects together, and it's what strikes me about David is that he's always friendly and open and kind, and it's lovely to work with him because he's always himself, and the only person we can be is ourselves, right? So
Yep.
tell the audience a little bit more, David, about New Beginnings Motivation. What is our focus and how they can get involved?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Juanita. We're absolutely honored to have you a part of the family. So thank you for what you do for us. But yeah, New Beginnings Motivation, you can get a hold of us on Facebook. We do have a page, New Beginnings Motivation, LLC. You can also reach out to me personally on Messenger. I would take a screenshot of my last name because my last name sometimes is not a really easy name to spell. Typically, most people add a C at the end of it, but it's the K. So if you can reach out to me on Messenger. You can also reach out to Juanita. She knows a lot of the stuff that we got going on next month and going forward for the year. But then also, I have my director of operations, Mr. Nathan Franks, Franks, just like the hot dog. And he says that all the time, so I'm allowed to say that. But you can reach out to any three of us. But we got so many cool things going on this year. We've got a live event coming up next month that we're hosting in Denver. We're calling it the Weekend of Discovery, the Legacy Edition. So we're excited for that. That's September 15th to the 17th. And then we're really excited about this. And this is my pre-sale, kicking it off with on Juanita and with Alejandro. But we are going to Disney. Yeah, we're so excited for this, and we're encouraging everybody to bring your families, to make it a family thing. We're going to have a couple days of, growth in the conference room. We're staying at a 5-star hotel. We're calling it the Weekend of Discovery, the Magic of Possibilities Edition. And we're going to go around to all the parks. We're going to have fun. We're going to be kids, even for us old farts like me. I'm going to be skipping through Epcot and Magic Kingdom watching the fireworks. And that's January 18th through the 22nd. Now, the biggest thing that I'm really excited about, and
Yes.
Juanita is aware of this, and we are working on a project together to get something additional to this. But this is Base Camp with New
Yay.
Beginnings, my very first book that I'm writing. It is in the editing process as of right now. And this book is worth $150. Now, before anybody worries about the sticker price, there is a ebook workbook that comes with this. There are committed action forms that come with this. I also threw in a ebook for fear and anxiety stress reduce methods that's going to be tied to this. There's also a Facebook group, our inner circle group, that is our private group, for the first 30 days for free. That's all at a $1,200 value, and you can get all that for $150 when you buy Base Camp with New Beginnings, and 100% of that money goes directly right back into New Beginnings so we can continue to pour into our community.
That's it. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And, so many times you've gone through so many things. It wasn't only the passing away of Joey, it was also the fall, having the brain bleeds. It was also the cancer that you had to push through. And you just kept going. And I see that as a recurring theme also here at KAPPTOR Connection. So, it was just refreshing to hear you share your testimony. And of course, I heard the song. Last year, when I interviewed John Meticulous, I heard Joey's song.
Yep.
And it was just so beautiful. I want to ask you, after your session, if you have time, drop it in the comments of the
Okay.
live for KAPPTOR so people can hear the song that you had written for Joey. It's so beautiful. Alejandro, do you have any questions for David?
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, it's definitely very motivational. I mean, to say, I mean, sometimes, it's very hard. I mean, when a family member, especially a very young family member, is being taken away from us. Um, but the people who remain behind, they have two options. I mean, they can start living a kind of a sad existence and then do absolutely nothing, or they can keep doing, and they can take that to the next level, and make something out of that experience. And I think that that's what David has done. I mean, he did not, even though he says that, I mean, that he talks to his brother on a daily basis, and he still, his brother is on his heart, but he did not let that situation stop him from pursuing and carrying on, and going to the objective, and that's the new beginnings motivation. I mean, this is when I heard it so many times, when one door closes, guess what, multiple doors open. Okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
and it's just that, that drive that keeps a person going, and that, I mean, that story, really, um, the world needs to hear it, but so many people who maybe are in that same situation, it can transform and it can change tremendous amount of lives. So thank you, I mean, for sharing that, and for doing all the things that you're doing, because life is not, I said it so many times. um, if you are a captain of a ship, if you want to be a better captain, don't sail on smooth seas. I mean, you have to go into the choppy
Yep.
waters, and that would make you a better captain. I mean, that would make you more skillful and resourceful. And in your case, that I think that what the passing of your brother, I mean, even though I'm in a very sad situation, but it has allowed you, those choppy waters has allowed you to become a much better human being.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I wanted to ask, as we are on the topic of new beginnings, and there's lots of people in the audience that have gone through traumatic events and that have really had to sit down and reframe, restructure, recalibrate their lives, just start over, turn a new page. What's to you gentlemen, I pose it to both of you, what was the most difficult part for you when you had a new beginning phase? What was the most difficult part of going into that new beginning?
Yeah, for me, Juanita, outside of Joey, because I'm still working through that, obviously 5.5 years later. But when I got hurt last year, I lost 16 months of my life. I mean, we had to go radio silent for a while with New Beginnings because of the workman's comp stuff. And I have this acronym that we use during our teachings and stuff like that. And it's based on the word faith. And the first letter really is something that I struggled with for a lot of months because it was hard for me to do it, but it was forgiveness. It was forgiveness towards myself, but it was also forgiveness towards those who did not take care of the parking lot where I slipped on the ice and caused the pain, not only in my right shoulder, but in my head, that caused the discomfort of being nauseous and having issues with, lights and sound and having these migraines and then having to have surgery on my shoulder. And I was angry for quite a few months. And I finally realized when you go to the A, and I'm just going to share these two, I became aware that I wasn't acting like me. There was something not right. And when I was able to become aware of that, I reached out to a family friend who's my therapist, who I've known since 2001, and he's incredible at what he does. And he helped me come back, not be afraid to walk on ice, to be able to forgive those who did not take care of the parking lot. And so when I was creating my own new beginnings, when I was coming out from the accident, it started with the forgiveness towards not really myself, because I didn't purposely hurt myself, obviously, but forgiveness towards those who did not take care of that parking lot and was trying to tear me down. And when I was able to embrace that in a positive way, when you embrace change from a positive way instead of a negative way, your life changes forever. So that was my new beginnings from that point.
Beautiful, beautiful. Alejandro, what was it like for you? Think back of a scenario. You may share if you wish what scenario it was, but what was the most difficult part about entering that new beginning, those uncharted territories?
For me, and I think that for many, entering into new beginnings is conquering the fear of the unknown. Yep. It's that belief that it's so easy to get into a room that is lit up, that is full of light, because you see everything around you. Okay, you see if there's an obstacle or a chair on the floor, and then you just go around it because you see it and you don't trip over it. But then it's a different situation when you get into a place that is completely dark, and you can put your hand in front of your nose and you don't see it because it's dark, and then that's when sometimes fear comes, and then you have fear to make your next step because you don't know what you're going to find. But what happens is that when you are in that kind of a situation, rather than being paralyzed and not move, because if you don't move, You never know what is going to be ahead of you. So it's just when you start moving and when you start taking a step, even if it's in the dark, you may trip, you may fall, but then you have the opportunity to come back up, and then carry on. And then it's just one step at a time until you find another door that you open, and then you get into the light once again. But that kind of a new beginning is a kind of a fearful, so sometimes is coming to the edge. Like, I mean, one of my mentors used to say, I mean, you come to the edge of the mountain and you see down, and you see all the rocks down at the bottom, and you said, well, if I'm going to make another step, I mean, I'm just going to fall down there and I'm going to crash my head on the rocks. But he said, listen, when you come to that point in your life that the next step is going down, make that step. Don't stay on that edge. Okay, don't do it. Make that step, go, because you jump and you're going to build the wings on the way down. Okay, you are
Yeah.
going to build your wings on the way down. And that's what many people do. They come to the edge and boom, they stop and they paralyze and they don't go anywhere. They get stuck there. But if you make that next step and you begin to fall, don't worry, because you are building your wings on the way down. And then you're going to be soaring like an eagle. Okay? And
Oh,
that's the whole point.
love that, love that. It when David spoke about faith, and when when you spoke about being on that edge, made me think of Dr. Rob's presentation earlier, because Dr. Rob's
Yeah.
presentation also had an element of faith. And then
Yeah.
when you mentioned the cliff, or the edge that you're
Hmm.
standing on, it made me think of execution, executing your plan,
Yeah.
following through on that and being decisive, because as long as you stand on that edge, you are going to experience the emotions that you feel while you are on that edge. You are going to live a life of anxiety. You are not going to be sure. You're going to second guess yourself. You're going to have stress. It's going to influence your in a negative way your health at the end of the day, because you're not supposed to be in that state of fight or flight. We're not built that way. That's only for emergencies. So, um, personally, the ministry has really strengthened me through the years. I've had to reinvent myself a few times. I've had to start over a few times, my new beginnings. And through all those years, and this I say to encourage the audience, every time you make a new beginning, every time you jump off that cliff, every time you take that step, it becomes easier.
Hmm.
And I'm at that point now where I take risks. I just jump because I know God will catch me. I jump, Alejandro. I do it.
Yeah.
Because I know He's there to have my back. And I want to share with the audience, it was so funny. The other day, my daughter showed me a TikTok, and it was this angel. I think I shared it with Alejandro. I might have shared it with him when it happened. The angel, the guardian angel, is sitting at a table, and his wings are there, and he's having a smoke, and he's having this big drink with him. This tall bourbon, and on there it says, "That's my guardian angel at the end of the day." And she came to me and she said, "Mom, this is what your guardian angel goes through every day, because every time there is an adventure, every time there's something, you just jump and you just go and you just do it." And I think, when we live that way, life really becomes an adventure. I'm not saying make emotional mistakes or just rush into things, or just do things that you're not supposed to do. I'm saying, when you have the know-how, have the faith that you can accomplish what you set out to do, because we need to utilize the time available to us to the fullest. We need to capitalize on our abilities, our talents, our skills, and that's how we attain, that's how we achieve. So tell us, David, with everything that's going on, you are still busy with the New Beginnings Motivation community. And
Hmm.
what's that feeling like when you know that you're busy with something that's really transforming the world? What is, what is the feeling that you get when you engage with your members, when you are publishing your book, when you're going to the speaking events?
Oh my gosh, Juanita, it's a exciting feeling. There were nights like last night, I think I was blowing up your messenger with a project that you and I are working on, and it was only like, I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock here on the East Coast when I was doing that. I'm like, oh, I hope it's not in the middle of the night where Juanita's at, but I'm like, well, I'm halfway through, but I'm going to keep on going, and hopefully she doesn't give me the big sister glare um, when she does that. Because like my brother always told me, whenever I did things like that to him, he goes, Dave, I'm going to knock you into next Tuesday. And it was just a funny comment that we always had. But
Yeah.
it's one of the most rewarding things, because growing up, I never quite knew what I wanted to do with my life. I graduated from high school in '02, and I was 19 years old because I was held back because of my open heart surgery. And I tried different things. I worked for my father's company for 10 years. I went to go work for different organizations, worked for the school system for 8 years. And when I came with the idea of new beginnings and I started making the impact on people's lives, and people like coming off of stages said, I want to get to where you're at. I said, no, you want to get to your level. I don't want you to be like me. I want to help you get to your best level. And when I hear those comments, that's what fills my heart with joy, because that's when I know that it all starts with me, because I'm the face of the organization, I'm the owner, but I have such an amazing team behind me, with you, with Nathan, with the two other gentlemen I brought in that are the muscle. It's an incredible feeling. And I got to tell you, our very first sponsorship that we're doing in 2024 is with the Movement Maker Live with the Unleash You Now family. And that was a big commitment on my part, because Michael Faber and I met through Facebook, and we bonded over the commonalities of us losing our brothers. And the ironic thing is,
Yeah.
our brothers' names are Joey.
Yes.
And when you take a chance on you and you fully invest in you and you get it out of your head and you trust your heart and your soul, because your heart and soul know you better than your head does, you're going to do big things. And when I finally embraced that, that's when the barn doors were blown off the hinges. And, I love what Alejandro shared about the mountaintop, because we have the Rocky Mountains in Denver, and our logo is a mountain. There's a mountain on the cover of Base Camp. And when you're at the summit and you're looking out, that's not where you're going to end, because there are many more peaks that you're going to want to go challenge. And when you're ready to go challenge those peaks, instead of going all the way down and starting from a new base camp, you're going to be able to soar off of the top of that one summit to the next summit to the next summit. And you're going to live your life to the fullest. You're going to live your life to your terms. And being able to do this is absolutely incredible. And when I am not doing this because of being locked down by workman's comp, I was not a happy camper, because I don't like not being able to help. It's not about me. It's about Joe, and it's about our community. It's about pouring into them. So when I can do these kind of things, I become a kid in the candy store.
True. And the new beginnings,
Oh,
David has been traveling. There's been a lot going on. That's on Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard and Fridays 12 p.m. Eastern Standard. So keep a lookout for that. Great things are going on behind the scenes. And, the fruit of the labor is always there. And I was thinking, as you were talking about the mountains, and you were talking about starting out, really looking at that mountain that you're about to climb, doing whatever you need to do to get to the top of that mountain. I thought to myself that, sometimes we're in the valley, we're still on the way to the top. Sometimes we've reached the pinnacle of the mountain, and there's lessons that we learn on the journey,
mm-hmm.
especially in the valley. And when we get to the top, those are the lessons that we remember. And those are the moments that we reminisce on, because those are the moments that we really develop, that we
Yep.
change, that we get stronger, that our views are a little bit tweaked, and that we can take it with us. And, life, we go through different circumstances, but we try and take the good out of every situation, and look at it in a positive manner. I really believe in positive words, positive energy, positive, even body language, and just living a life of, as Dr. Rob said, of joy. Because I
Hmm.
was
Yeah.
in an interview, and someone asked me, what is the definition of success? Now, when it asked me that before, and I said, well, if I'm happy, I'm successful. Why did I say that? Because when I'm happy, I can move that mountain. When I'm happy, I can formulate that plan. I can put it together. I can execute it. I can make my decisions like we learned from Dr. Rob. So, very important that we find the joy in the valley as well as in the mountain. Not
Oh yeah.
everything that comes against us is always bad for us. Maybe it's there to cut away or chop away some things that we have to polish so that we can be better. Alejandro, how do you feel about valleys and mountains? What is your take on the new beginnings and what that entails?
Well, I tell you, life, life is not only mountain peaks, but life is also valleys.
Uh-huh.
It's a constant, and we have to be adaptable. We have to be flexible. Um, I remember. I used to be, when he was still alive, I used to follow Dr. Wayne Dyer a lot, and I love, the way that he presented information. And Dr. Wayne Dyer, one time he said, we cannot be rigid, because rigidity breaks. We have to be
Yeah.
flexible, because
Mhm.
flexibility doesn't
Yeah.
it bend. And he gave the example, of, you see those palm trees, very tall palm trees, and when the winds come, you see
Uh-huh.
those giants, bending, but they never break. You never
Mm-hmm.
seen a palm tree breaking down, because they bend. They're flexible. They're not rigid. If they were rigid, wind comes and it breaks them down, because there's no bending possibilities. And that's what we need to do. We have to be
Yep.
flexible in life.
Yeah.
We cannot be rigid, because if you're rigid and an obstacle comes, it breaks you. You have to be resilient. You have to be okay. Something comes, and then you get knocked down, but then you're resilient and you come back up and you continue. that's
Yeah.
what that's what it is. And I think that, yes, going through, is great when you are on the top of a mountain and you can see the distance. But some people, they get to the top of a mountain and they stay there, because that is their success. Oh, I got to the top of the mountain. Woo! Instead of changing that mindset and said, I got to the top of this mountain, but look,
I'm
so
another.
many
Yeah.
more mountains to climb. Let's
That's it.
get there. You see,
Yeah.
that's a different perspective.
And I
I
love that you,
agree.
I love that
Yeah.
you shared that, Alejandro, because like the Rocky Mountains are only like 14,000 feet high. But my ultimate goal is I want to get to the highest peak on the planet Earth, and that's Mount Everest. And I think that's around 26,000 feet. So I
Yes.
love that you shared that, because a lot of people do get comfortable once they get to the summit. I used to do that when I would lose all my weight, and then I'm like, oh, great, now I can eat again. And then I would gain the weight all back. I remember going back to your resilience thing. I was in eighth grade, and I broke my leg when I was skiing, spiral fracture. Both bones below my right knee were broken. Plates and screws had to go in, the whole 9 yards. I went back the following year, and I was back on the slopes because I loved it. And I remember looking down from the from the lift, and I saw this 5-year-old on the moguls, which are the mounts, and they're going up and over, up and over, up and over. And as I got older, I'm like, man, if I did that, my knees, my hips, my back would be so mad at me and angry at me, but their joints and their muscles aren't fully developed at that point, and that shows the resiliency that
Flexible.
those kids are showing because
Yep.
their bodies can handle that. So if you can use that analogy along with the palm trees, because I did live in Florida and I
Yeah,
was there during Hurricane Andrew, and they just went like this. And when you
Yeah.
that's right.
develop that resiliency, nothing's going to stop you.
That's
Being
right.
flexible.
Exactly.
Being
Yeah.
flexible. I agree. I agree. I remember when I was still pastoring, I had this sermon about being rigid, and being versus being flexible. And I talked about how we are all supposed to, according to external influences, according to the world out there, we are all supposed to fit into this certain mold. If you're a
Mhm.
pastor, you have to fit into this mold. If you're a teacher, you have to teach this way, you have to fit into this mold. And that applies to different fields. And I used the illustration of a ice container, the little container that you make ice in. And I said, that is so rigid. You can only be a certain size in that little container. You can only be a certain volume. You're going to look exactly like all the other ice blocks. And sometimes, and that those were in the days before they had these flexible ones that you use now. It used to be this hard plastic. I used the example and I said, if you bend it hard enough to try and get the ice out, it's going to break.
Yep.
And I said, on the other hand, God describes us as the clay, and He's the
Yeah.
potter. And what does clay do? It can be molded, it can adapt. Sometimes they take it back and make it into another form. And that's the beauty of our walk of faith with God, because we're not supposed to fit into the mold. I'm Juanita Cap. There's only one of me, and I've been created by God the way I'm supposed to be. Same with David, same with Alejandro, same with the audience. So why, when we set out to do things for God, or when we set out to do things in the entrepreneurial world or in business, do we always want to stay in those rigid frames of mind where, oh no, maybe I won't be able to do this because the rules say I have to be able to do this, this, and this, and I have to have these, and these resources. No, my friends, those days are over, because
Yeah.
people have learned to adapt, especially after COVID. Do you know that there were businesses in COVID that started off and that did so good in the COVID when the whole world shut down? There were people that were so adaptable, they started businesses and they made them work. But for those who were rigid, for those who were stuck in their ways, for those who thought they have to follow the same blueprint that everybody's followed for the last 100 years, the last century, they closed doors. They didn't make it. They gave up. They didn't reach their goals because they couldn't see past that
Right.
mold. You are
Yeah.
not supposed to fit into that mold. As a pastor, I never fit into the mold. I'm loud. I love adventure. I love to do things differently. I'm a woman. I'm blonde, for goodness sake. That wasn't the mold or the profile for a pastor, and yet I successfully conducted my job and my anointing that I walked in for 15 years. I became an ordained pastor. I didn't fit into the mold for one day. I did things a different way. And that's what I see in New Beginnings. That's what I see what we're doing out there as entrepreneurs. All these wonderful people that have been on here, all these specialists, all these amazing speakers, they do things outside of the mold because we're
Mhm.
not supposed to fit into that mold. We are special, we are unique. And when we grasp onto that, it's easier to face those valleys. It's easier to remember the lessons that we've learned because we know it's okay that we are different. I think we have to get to a place where we embrace who we are. And I think the people that invest into our lives. They help us. Groups like the CLA, we're going to have J.R. Spear on from the BLN a little bit later. New Beginnings Motivation, all these groups, they help us to realize that we are all unique. And none
Yeah.
of these groups, we're going to have Jonathan Ellis on from Thought Provoking Change. None of these groups are in competition with each other. They're not. Because each group is unique. There's no mold. Each group ministers to a different individual. And that's what's so beautiful, is that we are all we have something amazing to bring to the world. And I think that's just lovely. I think that helps us to make sense of our surroundings and our circumstances.
I would definitely agree with that because what I love about these communities was back in March, I was hanging out at a men's retreat with the Unleashing Out family, and Jose from the CLA was there, Patrick Rude was there.
Yeah,
Uh,
Patrick.
Earlier in the year, last year, Emilio Ramon from AMA came to the men's retreat, and all the guys that I've gotten to know over the last several men's retreats I've gone on, all the founders, the CEOs, the presidents, there's no ego. We're
That's
all
it.
in this. We're all in this to make a difference in the world. Obviously, we want to make a living doing this because we kind of need money to live, right? But what I love about all these communities is the service is and the impact that we want to make in the world. And one thing that you both shared, and I'm glad you brought up the valleys, because when you're starting out from a base camp, I mean, you're not going right into, the mountain. And the great thing about going through the valleys, you're going to meet people along the way that are going to try to challenge you and
That's
knock you
it.
off course, but that builds the resiliency. But you're
Yeah.
also going to meet your people. You're going to meet the people that will always have your back. And when you're tired going up that mountain, they're going to pick you up and help you keep going. That's why
Yeah.
community is so vital.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I belong to a few of these communities. Let me tell you, they all minister to me in a different manner.
Yep.
And it's amazing, and it helps me grow personally and professionally. So, shout out to Thought Provoking Change with Jonathan Ellis. Shout out to Jose Escobar. He's already had his speaking spot last night. Jonathan is still coming. Huge shout out to J.R. Spear, one of my most favorite people in the whole world from the BLN. I've known him for a long time. We have a lot in common. And of course, we have David Vrablik from New Beginnings Motivation. I'm a proud member of his group as well. So, Alejandro, tell us a little bit about the mold. Have you ever felt like someone is trying to put you in that mold? To me, people are not one size fit all, whether it's personality, whether it's business, whether it's music or the arts. Has anyone ever put you under the impression that maybe you don't fit in? Because I've had that a lot of times, and I have to proudly say, in the groups that I'm in now, as the online leadership groups that I do travel to overseas as well, I've never had that. They also accommodating and open and welcoming. But before you joined those groups, have you ever had a situation where people have tried to put you in a mold that you just did not fit in?
No, and the simple reason is that when I feel that I am put on a mold, and then I just I have to get out of that place, because you know what happens. If you get into a mold, then you become complacent,
That's it.
because the mold just restricts you, and you become complacent. I mean, you just become like that, becomes your comfort zone, your area. And then eventually what happens, you are there, and then you just stop growing, you stop doing things, you stop making an impact on people's lives. So no, forget about being in a mold. I mean, I consider myself moldless. Moldless. I mean,
Moldness.
there is
No,
no
we're talking
mold.
about
I
the
mean,
shape, right?
that's right. That's right. No, I mean, no mold. As a matter of, yes, as a matter of fact, and you know me, I love I love to shake the waters, a little bit. I mean, and I love to throw curveballs, and I love to be
Yeah.
different. And in a
Yeah.
sense, you know what happens? Look in history,
Uh-huh.
all the people who had success and achieved
Yeah.
something in life,
That's it.
they were not in a mold. They
They
were
didn't fit.
those, yes, they were those who they were the troublemakers. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's the troublemakers of this world who actually achieve something and success. Yes,
Yeah.
it's not the ones
Yeah.
who fit in a mold. I mean,
Yeah.
look at a Steve Jobs. I mean, Steve Jobs, didn't fit in a
Yeah.
mold. I mean, you couldn't
Mm-mm.
put him in a mold. I mean, he was always just breaking the status quo. I mean,
Yeah. It's a good thing.
it's a troublemaker, and that's what you do. I mean, I think that the world needs, in a good sense, it needs
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah. No, no, of course. Yeah, like in Afrikaans we call it katakwaad. So I guess if I translate katakwaad, that would be mischief. And why I mentioned
Mhm.
that word is when I used to pastor, you know, the children that did the most mischief in the youth group or when they were in school, they became corporate CEOs, CFOs. They really did impeccable and are still doing impeccable things out there today. So I always said God uses the naughtiest children the most in his kingdom because and
That's
entrepreneurs don't
awesome.
fit into the mold, we don't fit into the mold. So that's a good thing. And David, I want to, for those who just logged in with us, David, just reiterate how can we purchase your book and how can I join the NBM community, the New Beginnings community, motivation community? Any other final comments that you have, products that you want to put on the table, please feel free to do so.
Thank you so much, Juanita. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, everybody. I am always happy to be here. For the Base Camp with New Beginnings, we're in the pre sale mode right now. The book officially launches January 5th, 2024. You can reach out to myself, Juanita, or Nathan Franks, Franks, just like the hot dog. We have a Stripe account that we'll be happy to send y'all the link. And once we get the link and the payment, we'll get your address. We're keeping a spreadsheet with everybody's address on it. So when we get the copies of the book, we'll send them out to you as soon as I get back to Denver. We've got the Weekend of Discovery coming up September 15th through the 17th in Denver, Colorado. So we still have spots left. We still have rooms left at the room block in the Holiday Inn in Parker, Colorado. Then we've got the Weekend of Discovery coming up in January 18th through the 22nd. Another Weekend of Discovery, but this one's going to be held at Disney. We're going to keep things a little close to the vest because we like to surprise people because that's how we roll at New Beginnings. Now, if you're ready to take your life to the next level and you want to level up and you want to get out of your base camp and go through the valleys, thank you, you two, for sharing that with me because now I'm going to use that and think about that as I move forward with the book and pushing for the summit. We have our inner circle group and we'll be happy to talk to you about that. Juanita has the information on that as well, as do I. We'll talk about that one-on-one. We don't need to talk about the numbers or anything like that on a live. I don't like doing that, but this is more of an intimate group where we have 2 trainings a week. I bring in special guests because I have so many friends that are poured into me. Dr. Rob, Michael Faber, Jose Escobar, so many amazing dudes and gals and dudettes. So if you want to know, just reach out to David Vrablik. Take a picture of my last name because it ain't easy to spell. And I would love to have a chat with you.
That's it. Thank you so
Excellent.
much for joining us. Alejandro, any final comments?
No, not a comment, but a very big thank you, David. For spending this time with us, for your
Yeah.
willingness to do it and your willingness to share your openness, your vulnerability, and man, so good to get to know you, and just keep doing the work that you're doing and keep impacting thousands and thousands of new lives. Okay, just go for it.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
David.
Thank you so much, my brother. It was so good to finally meet you. I've seen a bunch of your lives, so I'm very happy to finally meet you. And thank you, Juanita.
It's
Excellent.
a pleasure. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you soon.
See y'all.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
There we go. Hey, what a wonderful session with David Vrablik from the New Beginnings Motivation Group. Looking forward to
My
reading his book. Yeah, and the
my
events that's
my
coming up.
Yes,
Yeah.
my goodness. I mean, what a great session this was. Uh, you know, and yet again, when we keep bringing speakers and talking, and everything just seems to, it's like every single captor conference. I mean,
It
the
happens. Yeah.
we start with the big puzzle, and all the pieces are scattered all over the place. 500 pieces or 1,000 pieces all over the place, and then pretty soon all those pieces, they begin to
Mm-hmm.
find their way into the right spots, and
That's
how
it.
you begin to see how how everything is just coordinating and taken, because
Yeah.
we talked, I mean, with David, and then that connects, I mean, with what Dr. Rob McCleland said earlier, and it connects with what someone
Everything from
spoke
yesterday.
yesterday. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's great.
I'm just looking at our schedule here. We have 15 minutes before Jared Barto is up. So, what
Well,
I think we should do is play a few of our KAPPTOR videos and just wait for our next speaker to come in. That way, everybody can stretch their legs. Alejandro can do a few push ups. I know those are his favorites. Push ups, sit ups, and mountain climbers' favorites. He loves them, guys. You have to see it. So he's going to do his exercise regime because I already did mine this morning. Yeah. And don't you want to show the audience the KAPPTOR dance?
the, oh, the
You do the
captor dance.
dance, I'll do the mask.
Like, because captors have very short hands. That's right.
Oh my goodness! So I think you've done the KAPPTOR dance now. Now it's time for your exercises. Remember, I'm going to be watching you, and let's be back in 15 minutes. And then we'll welcome our next speaker, Jared Barto. You don't want to miss this session, guys. So stay tuned. We'll see you in a few.
Yeah. Okay.
Every time I start, the video mutes my mic. And we are back for the KAPPTOR Connection Conference 3-day 2 session 2. And we are so excited to have our next guest speaker with us. Alejandro and I both met him through the Connected Leaders Academy, and Jose Escobar, of course. I'm going to read you his bio before we bring him on here. I remember when he did his presentation at the CLA, he was our special guest speaker. He had a lovely shirt on, so I would love for him to also tell the audience what that shirt said, because that made an impression on me. So without further ado, let me read you his bio. Jared Barto, I'm just opening the document. There we go. Jared Barto has been email marketing since Outlook Express days, and using Notepad to build sales funnels back in the late 1990s. He's taken the time to figure out the intricate details of what is needed to make our messaging clear and concise when we aim to work with complete strangers in the online space. Adapting his 2 decades worth of business analysis to the mix, there hasn't been a challenge Jared couldn't overcome. When he's not sleuthing on the internet to ensure your marketing makes sense, he's spending time with his wife of 12 years and navigating the teenage waters with their 5 children. He's considered taking up Uber to get paid for taking his kids to all the things, though he's preferred to stay focused on your digital success. And he's going to be talking about 3 foundations for healthy and profitable advertising, creating conversations that close. Welcome, Jared.
Welcome me. Hey, thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. This is great. I think is this the shirt you were talking about? That one?
That's the shirt I'm talking about. Yes, I love that.
Yeah, so this shirt was actually made at a conference. It was a physical conference we went to, and I joked with the operations manager, and I was like, if the clients just listen to what I tell them, they're going to be fine with their marketing. They'll be fine. So she's like, well, I'm going to make you a shirt. So she did. So the front says, follow Jared's instructions. And on the back, it says, that's how you win. So I forgot about this shirt until you said it. I'm like, oh, I could have wore that today. That's fine.
Well, welcome here at the KAPPTOR Connection Conference. Thank you so much for joining us as a speaker. We're going to hand over to you so you can do your magic.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Thank you both so much. And this is opportunity to do, right? I don't want to gloss over the fact that this is important, not just for us to be able to share what we know and our knowledge and everything in that space, but it's important to have these connections as we come together. Like I did meet Juanito and Alejandro inside of the Connections Academy, and this was a topic that I had brought up, and I wanted to share it with you all today because there's a ton of things happening in the marketing space that I think we kind of overlook or we kind of take for granted. Now, most of us have seen ads at one point or another. Most of us have our feed hit with them, and they're getting so good, the AI, that if you're thinking about something, that's probably going to pop up on your feed, right? So that creates even more about what I'm going to share here that is going to be, I want to say magical. I am going to promise that it will be magical, especially if you've heard things like these before. So there's a couple things I will share that you will have heard. So none of that is going to be new, but what will be new is that final little piece that I'm doing. And I promise it's not one of those like, wait till the very end and then I'll release it. It's not like that, okay? The 3 things I'm going to share with you, you can do today. So if you are in a workspace setting, if you're able to do that, if you're able to take notes, remove as much distractions as you're able to, I'm going to give you the exact things that we're going to do to make ads compliant and profitable, clean, healthy for wealth, not just the riches, but the wealth that comes from our connections simply by these 3 foundations. Cool? All right, great. So what we're going to do, first foundation, okay? Give me a hot second. Actually, I did something special here. I tend to, now again, 2 decades as a business analyst, I've always had presentations ready to go. And I had one where I was looking for reporting requirements for underwriters and blah, blah, blah in the bank I was at, and I just wasn't getting them. After email after email after email wasn't working. So I'm like, well, I'm going to change up my presentation. So I ended up throwing in Spider-Man, Batman, the Joker, you name it, all that into it. Most people thought I lost my mind and that I was kidnapped and I was changed and all this, but the presentation worked. It was a little unorthodox, but I got what I needed. So instead of giving you a presentation, what I am going to do is I'm going to pick and use the power of digital inside of us here. And we're going to talk about these 3 foundations. Okay. Very first one is so if you're going to take notes, you're going to do anything. This is the very first one to keep in mind. The first one is foundations. Of this is who. Now, when I say who, this is, again, probably something you're familiar with. It's who we're talking to, right? Very, very simple. When I say this, though, I don't necessarily mean just your avatar creation. I don't necessarily mean the people that you wish you could talk to. Who I mean is the people you are already serving. These people have found you. You found them, whether it was referrals, email marketing, digital space, whatever it is that got into your world. They trusted you enough. They either passed referral to you or they're currently working with you. Those are the people we're talking to. These are the who of what it is. So it's not necessarily, oh, I need to go back to the drawing board and figure out who I need to talk to. You already know who they are. But it goes a step beyond that. It's not even just, again, who is it that we're speaking to, right? We can do a Google search and find it out. I'm talking a lot about their inner workings. What kind of things do they like? What kind of things don't they like? Do they have the same interest in music that you do? Do they have the same interest in videos that you do of movies, entertainment, books, food, travel, hiking, walking, outdoor activities? Like, this can go as far as you'd like it to go. Right now, again, I'm gonna speak fast on this one and the next one, not because they're not important to go in, and we will have some time for Q&A. So if you have any questions that pop up, you're more than welcome to ask those. But the idea here is I would like these first 2 foundations I'm going to share with you to be as simple as possible, because the last one I'm going to share is probably going to take the majority of your work to make sure it makes sense. So in these foundations, there might be things that you're thinking, well, how can I narrow this down? How am I able to narrow down who I'm talking to? This is very simple. This requires some internal work. Maybe even, I don't even go as far as saying you need to journal, because I'm not that person that says you have to do those things. But if you're not sure about the things you like, the things you dislike, what you're willing to accept, what you're not willing to accept, those types of things, and most of us know, but if you're still in that, I don't know, that space of, I just kind of still got to figure it out, or maybe it changed from last year to this year, and I don't know if I want to share that type of thing, this is that time to start looking at it. Because ultimately, we're going to attract what we're thinking about, who we're thinking about, and that very essence of a person. Let's think about this in maybe 2 simple ways. You have a client you love working with. They're on time to your calls. They're very responsive to your emails, to your messaging. If you ask them to do anything that is related to your service, to your product, they do that thing. If you're sending them to go through a funnel, a sales funnel that is to opt in, go ahead and check out the video, buy the thing, implement the thing, get the results, they're likely to be the people that will do those very steps. And they're probably not going to give any type of big objections. They might ask questions like, well, how much is this going to cost me? What's going to happen if I invest this? Is it going to make sense? They might do those types of things, but they're not going to be like, well, this is dumb, and then they click off, right? So we're talking about the clients we actually like to work with, right? We have to think about them. And typically, if you start thinking about those types of clients more, you'll start seeing that more. And if you think it's kind of a little woo-woo, let's take this as a little experiment. Whatever car you're driving right now, you have probably seen in the road, wherever you travel, anywhere, bikes, motorbikes, anything that you use for transportation, right? Now, if you were to look for a new vehicle, a new train, a new plane that you want to fly, or anything that's like, you start looking for something new, you start doing the research, right? Usually when you're buying an automobile, when you start doing those things, what typically happens? Do you start seeing more of whatever it is that you're looking for? Do you start seeing less of whatever it is you're looking for? More than likely, if I were to look for, say, buying an Audi, I'm probably going to see more Audis in the next couple of weeks than I would any other vehicle. And it's not that it just kind of magically manifested, that it just popped out of thin air, that they were just created in 2 weeks and then I finally get to see them. It means that I was focused on that. I was looking for them consciously and subconsciously to make that connection. If we could do it for a vehicle, we can do it for our clients. So when we do our paid ads and we're sitting down and we're writing our copy. We're putting our videos together. We're putting our emails together, our funnels together. It goes all the way through fulfillment, right? If we're sitting down and thinking about them in the way that we would love to work with them because they love to work with us, we then get a good picture of who this person is and who we're going to talk to. If you were to focus on clients you don't like working with, what do you think is going to happen? The fulfillment side of your existing clients is going to be affected by those who you don't want to work with. And you may not even know why yet, right? That's where the whole journaling part comes in. You may not even know what it is about this, but it's really the who aspect that helps us hone this in of, if I want my ad to be healthy, clean, compliant, profitable, wealthy, anything that you want that shows an abundance part in your life, we get clear on who we're talking with. Now, we don't have to directly come out and say the words you. We don't have to do those types of things, but it does come down to who are we talking to, okay? So now you're like, all right, Jared, I get it, okay? You beat this one. You made it super duper clear. I love it. If this is not clear, that's okay, because we'll have time at the end to talk about it, right? So first foundation is who. You're probably thinking, all right, what's the second foundation? Great, glad you asked. The second foundation is what. What are we actually going to say to these people? So if we have our foundations, we already started with who, so we're already thinking about who they are. We have a general idea of who it is that we want to serve and who we already serving. We want more of people like that. But now what are we going to say? You know, sometimes people throw this in reverse. They'll start with what they need to say, which is fine. You could say whatever you want. But imagine we spent so much time on just what we want to say that we don't even know who we're talking to, that we're just kind of like throwing a big old net out there and we're just playing around, right? There's a nice balance that's going to happen between all of these. And I'll get to the third one to explain why. But in this one, now that we've already thought about who we want to talk to, and we've been very clear, we don't have to go super duper deep into the targeting aspect because it's typically one or two things, right? Especially in the Facebook paid side. We don't want to start with too many targeting options. So now we have a general idea of who it is we're talking to. We're basing off existing clients we enjoy. And if you don't have existing clients yet that you enjoy, think about what those clients would be like, and they're coming. I promise it just takes a little bit of time. Once you get them, it's hard to get rid of them. That's the beauty of it, right? It's a good problem that you want to have. But now we talk about what. What are we going to talk with them about? And this is where I mentioned about creating conversations that close. You can totally do this closing aspect at the very first ad that somebody can see, right? And I already hear you, Jared, that's BS. Okay. Let me put it to a test then. If we are super duper clear on who we're talking to, and we're super duper clear with what we're saying to them and giving them specific actions to take, what would stop them from making a decision right on the spot? If you do those two things, especially the third one I'm going to talk about soon, if you do those moments, the only thing that stops them has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them. And that's not a bad thing, because you can only control you and they can only control them. The moment that the ad leaves your hands and it's in delivery from Facebook, the moment that that happens, that is that truly like let go, let God moment that you might see floating around here that I started seeing when I was like 8 or 9. It was like the little posters would be printed out, and be like, let go and let God. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do a little work and then I'll let go and let God do whatever happens after that. But you get the idea that you cannot control exactly every step they're going to make. But if you are clear on who you're talking to and you're clear on what you're saying and what you want them to do, the only hesitation they're going to have is on them. But the beauty about this, the beauty about being able to understand the metrics, the beauty about that I spent 9 months, 3 hours every single day to figure all of this stuff out, the ability of being able to look at the numbers and say, even if they didn't buy today, I've got a good idea that those people that just signed up, give them a little bit of time, and they're going to get it. The reason that I bring these up, the reason I say it that way is just today, I asked a client today, we needed to make some adjustments to their marketing. We tried some new videos. They really weren't working that well. And it's not because her message wasn't clear. It was pretty clear that we had a winning ad. She's been having very good people get into her space, like opt in, go into join her group, sign up for applications and things in that space. The reason has nothing to do with my specific ability of the marketing. I helped in that, right? I helped her get the marketing set up. The true power came in from her ability to be clear on who she was talking to and what she was saying. And then the third one we'll bring out. In that space, she told me that the leads, the people that are coming in, right? We'll call them the leads, right, for data, but really they're people that are interested that you can serve, right? If we really want to categorize it, that's what they are. She was able to find out that instead of it taking it usually like 10 to 15 days if they come into her world, the current ads that we've been running together have been about 5 to 10 days, and they have been closing in 5 to 10 days. So when we're clear on who we're talking to and what we're saying, especially when I throw in the third one as like the little bonus, the icing on the cake, there is zero reason we have to believe that they cannot close right away. Does that part make sense? There's a lot of stigma out there that is telling you that people need 20 some odd days. They need 30 days, right? They need it. Maybe some of them do. But the people you truly want to work with, the 5% to 10%, they're ready now. They've been praying for something like this. They've been praying for your offer. They've been praying for your service. And if we are not clear on who we're talking to and what we're saying, somebody else is going to come in. They're going to do that marketing piece. They're going to slide right into their DMs. They're going to do whatever it is that they're going to do. They're going to make the sale. They're going to charge them double, triple of what they actually should be charging them. And they're going to produce a 50% quality type of fulfillment experience where you would be able to do it at 100% committed to them and at almost half the cost of what they would charge them. When we're clear on who we're talking to, clear on what we're saying, that becomes evident. That becomes super clear of what we need to do and why we need to do it. Okay. Which then leads me into my third point. So you can do all of these things, right? The whole foundations of what's happening here, you can do it without this third one I'm going to mention. But the reason I'm going to bring that up to you is because the third one is what separates the people who are trying to the people who are doing. This is the one that would push us beyond our normal expectations, our normal capabilities, and give us the opportunity to grow as people. The biggest part that happens with the marketing, I'm kind of teasing this. I'm just going to tell you. I don't like to dip the secret sauce too much. The point is, we're looking to make the impact to create those conversations that close, even if somebody doesn't opt in today. If we're setting up our marketing properly and we're doing it healthily, we're doing it with a wealth mindset, again, not just to make the money, but the wealth of whatever riches would be. You take money out of the equation, you can still have those quote riches that make us feel that way inside, to feel that joy that comes into it when you get excited to do what it is that you're doing. We're clear on who we're talking to, clear on what we're saying. We can do this at any given point we want. But the third that makes this icing on the cake, the one that solidifies where this all comes into play, the one that challenges us in the highest capabilities, the one that truly decides what type of person we want to be when we do our marketing, is the third foundation, and it's how. How are we talking to the people that we are now clear with and what we're saying to them? For anybody that wants to argue that tone does not exist on the internet, has not been around in the AOL Instant Messenger days and maybe the MSN Messenger days, tone 100% exists. And everybody does it in their own special way. To the structure of how we write our sentences, to the emojis that we use, to the exclamations, the question marks, the asterisks, the @ symbols, the pound signs, you name it. It works across the board. And if we are not clear on ourselves of who we want to work with and what we're offering to them, how could we possibly talk to them in a way that they would feel comfortable enough to open up almost immediately. Have you ever run into anybody that is, you just met them, right? This maybe at the conference here right now. Okay, maybe there's in-person events or anything that you do, and they just seem to light up the friggin' room. It's like everybody wants to gravitate to them. Everybody wants to be next to them. Everybody wants to talk to them, and you don't know what's pulling you in, what that magnetism is, and why it's happening that way. But you just know, like, I gotta go talk to him. I gotta go talk to her. We've all experienced this at least once. That portion is that charm, the charismatic aspect that somebody has. Do you know why that most business owners, entrepreneurs, and all of this have been pushing lately of this self-reflection, this self-guiding, the whole self piece there? It's not because they just want to make a buttload of money. Maybe they do. Like 1% are in that. But the rest of us, I want to make a buttload of money. But the idea here is I don't want to hurt people on the way of getting there. I want this to be as clean, as connected, and as enjoyable as possible for absolutely everybody involved, as much as I possibly can, without losing myself in the process. Did you know, to be that type of charismatic, that is not to be done on our own? That is not just a self journey. It starts with that actualizing that of being aware, right? But for me, it comes from when I have a morning prayer, a morning read, not even just the meditation, but actually having that aspect in my own life allows those moments to shine through. I'm not saying you're going to be charismatic all the time. I'm not saying it's going to be like that all the time. But this, if you look at it in that space and you have a purpose behind that, it comes back to it of, if you truly are just trying to make money with your ads, you can take a wild guess of what's going to happen. People have seen through this. This is so normal to them to see an opt-in page, to see a download, to see a free training, a mini course. Run your ad. We'll run your ads for you for $37, right? We've seen these. We've seen them all across the board. People are used to it by now. And the only way we stand out, the only way that ours becomes profitable, and not just on the money side, but the actual impact of changing lives side, which is, again, pretty much what we're trying to do here, is how we do this. It's how we approach it. It's how we're talking to everybody. Could you imagine if I came on here today and all I did was had a monotone voice, just told you this way, these are the three foundations. One, who were we talking to? Who are we going to say this to? What are we going to say to them? How we're going to do it? It'd be a completely different conference. It'd be a completely different discussion. How many times do we get excited on a podcast just listening because of how everybody's interacting together? You mean to tell me that whenever you read a book that may have been like a Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or anything, even Twilight, whatever. I don't want to digress on that. But any story that you really enjoy, anyone that you really, you mean you couldn't hear their voices on the page? No, you could. The author was very clear on the way that they wanted to present that because it's similar enough to how we talk, but it's different enough to capture the attention. How we're talking with people, how we're doing this matters so much. I would almost caution, I did this in the Academy talk too. I was almost, again, today, like maybe I should start with how, because that kind of is like the way we would want to show up. We would like to show up. But if we do it that way, we might miss everything else. So really when it comes down to us, there's no priority on these foundations. If really, it's kind of like a triangle where each side is just as important as the other, that if you took one out, it would probably fall apart. You could say four legs, but right now it's just a good, perfect trinity of how it goes together. And if you think back to your favorite conversations, you think back to your favorite stories, you think back to your favorite song, man, it feels like the song was written for me. It feels like it just hits my moment. We all have a song that we go back to that gives us a memory that we never want to let go. We always want to hold on to it for good or for worse, whatever it is, good or not good. Do you think that was by accident? As a musician myself, it's always intentional. We look for chords to bring in that feeling. We look for the ones that we'll call the goosebump chords. We'll look for the ones that make you feel comfortable and then shift it. And then you're like, oh, I'm not sure how to feel about this. And then bring you back. You're like, okay. And oh, I'm not really sure. Like it's on purpose. Every ad that you see that encourages you to do something is on purpose. There was a point I was bringing up earlier, and I wanted to save the rest of it until here. And it was all about what is our ad doing if they're not opting in? What is our ad doing in that arena if they're not giving their information that we're asking for? What then? A few years ago, before the whole world stuff happened in 2020, we'll just call it that and leave it go. The one is trying to make a resurgence at this point, that season. Before that occurred, I had done a test. And the test was super, super simple. I was going through an eviction of a property we were in, and I thought I was doing really well. I thought I was making the money. I clearly wasn't. I made a big swing and I missed. And that's another story for another time. It's not a rags to riches thing. It was just I took off too much. I swung too big and I struck out, right? But I wasn't out of the game. I wasn't pulled. We just kept going and we tried again. Picked a different bat. Went back to batting practice. Did the whole deal, whole analogy one. Did another time. But the idea that I had in there was, if I'm not making any money with my ads, what else can I do with them? And I think it might be a little weird to kind of look at it that way. Like, I wouldn't want you to start that and go like, oh, well, I'm going to do what Jared said. I don't have to make any money. No. We want to make money with the ads. Don't get me wrong. There needs to be a return, right? I tell all my clients, you're going to get a return. I don't know how long it takes. Some of you will take 30 days. Some will take 90 days, but you're going to get a return at some point. That I know because I've seen it. When I mentioned that I haven't run into a challenge I couldn't fix yet, I mean that 100%. And I would say out of every 100 challenges that I've had, I maybe offloaded 3 of them because I knew who to talk to and who they were. The rest, they all fell in my world. I probably could have offloaded more. Again, another topic for another time. In 2018 and 2019, I ran a test. And the test was just this simple. I had published a book. We did the whole Kindle free publishing, whatever. I was a published author, right? Okay. So I wrote a book, put it out there. It was all personal developments, like different ways that you cycle through these things, and they're going to keep happening. And you just learn something new every single time until you get past it. And then you go through another challenge. So I had the book. I wanted to give a couple copies out because I'm like, nobody's really going to pay for this. So let's just give it away, right? They probably will, but just not right now. Not a good mindset. But anyway, so I decided, let's do it. I had just made a cup of tea. And I sat down to do this Facebook Live, and I was not paying attention. And I kid you not, I grabbed the cup and I'm like, Facebook, hello. And I took a sip. And as soon as I did, my brain still did not register that I just made the tea. And I took a big old gulp. One of those, like, I am so glad to drink this drink gulp. And I just flat out burnt my tongue. And I burnt my tongue. And the way I reacted on the video, I was like, oh man, I just burnt my tongue. I thought that was really funny to me. And I'm like, yeah, people might get a kick out of this. So what I did is I took those first like 6 to 10 seconds of that and I put some music behind it. I made some like animated text on it. Didn't take long. And I put it out as an ad. That was the ad. It was just a through play ad. That's all I did. I maybe spent like 30 or 40 bucks. Probably shouldn't have, but looking back, I'm glad I did because here's what happened. After I did that, I did a retargeting aspect of it. I did this retargeting and I put that in there in the lower like right-hand corner of the video. And I said, last time you saw me in this video, it was a more serious one now. Like the last time you saw me, I had burnt my teeth or burnt my mouth with my teeth. Not one of my finest moments, but I'm not here to talk about that. What I do want to talk about is how are you really? And I added some like, other stuff in there, like a typical video you would have seen in 2018, 2019, right? It was going back and forth between stock video and me and then stock video and me and my voice. The idea behind the message was I felt at that time that a lot of people were going through a lot of things and they didn't have anybody to talk to. Really, it was just projection. I was going through a lot of stuff, especially in this online business space. I didn't really have anybody to talk to, which is why connections are important. Networking is important when it's valued, not just let me get your money, which is why we're supposed to be running our ads like this. And all it was if you need somebody to talk to, I want you to send me a message. You're gonna comment the word vent. That's VENT. You're gonna send me a message. My handles, I'll put them at the end here, and you just shoot away, right? Get it off your chest. Whatever it is, whatever you're going through, whatever you think you're going through, just lay it on me. I want to be here for you. If you want my feedback, ask me. If you want me to give you some advice, ask me. within 24 hours, you know, you get like banned now for replying to messages too fast. They didn't have that back then. And maybe I accidentally caused that. I apologize in advance. But I was getting like 30, 40 messages per day. And it was crazy in a good way. It was crazy. But I say this because when it comes down to the end of it, and there was a lot of stories, right? None that I really need to share here, but just there were people then later, after about a year, they saw their messages again and they would reply. It's like, Jared, thank you so much. Everything's been a little bit better, or I've been working on a few things. Some people are like, things aren't really that better. I'm not really sure what to do. But the idea here is that ad ran for maybe a week or two. I had to turn it off because one, spending, but two, I just couldn't keep up with the messages. What I found from that is that our impact is far greater than how much money we get to prove we're making on that to the world. It's good to have the results. Like I said, it's good to share those results when the timing is right. But our ads are not meant to ego fill us. It's not meant for us to look like we are the top notch, right? What the ad is supposed to do. And nobody's going to tell you it like this because they're probably going to risk losing money and all this. I don't care. There's so many bigger things happening than just wondering if we have enough money. I'm more concerned about the people that are being impacted by what we're saying and what we're doing. What we're saying to ourselves is 20 times focused, and I just made that stat up, on our ads. And then anybody else sees that is going to be affected by them. So here's my call to that, right? Here's my point to this. And I'm glad we're timed because I could go on this kind of stuff for hours. But my point to that side here and why I do what I do and what I'm doing and what I can do to help you is our impact that we make in this arena is what people will remember from here on out. I still remember ads from years ago. I still remember commercials from years ago. Anybody remember radio jingles? Am I dating myself too much on that? Anybody familiar with those? Anybody in that arena where you can probably still sing a double man cup? Like you could probably still have one that pops in. Impact or not, you remember it. People will remember it. They will. So if they're going to do that, that doesn't mean that we're afraid to write our ads. It doesn't mean anything in that space. It simply means we get serious about these foundations. Who are we talking to? What are we saying? And how are we saying it? Because that how part allows that impact. There are people who told me after they became clients, they would come and tell me, Jared, I picked you instead of such and such person because I watched you for 3 months. And the way that you talked with everybody just got better and better and better. Now, that's not to say that I don't have any bad days. I do. Bad moments, maybe not fully bad days. But it just shows that people are watching us. So if they're going to be watching us, let's give them a positive impact of a show. Let's give them what they're looking for in our marketing. And if we're clear on all of these foundations, they're in for a ride. They're in for a treat. If I told you that the worst case scenario that happens with your marketing is that people were benefited from your impact in their lives. If we take out all this other stuff, we take out the money, we take out the houses, the cars, whatever it is that you're looking for, that money helps you get, if we took all of that away and all we had was the impact we made to others in the way that we impacted them, do you want to give them a way to rise up? Or do you want to give them a way to dig further down? Our marketing gives them the option. This is why these foundations matter. This is why these are what you'll see in winning ads. I'm not making any of this up. If you look in an ad that you like, or you added to your swipe file, or anything that you did in that space, you probably liked it for one of these 3 reasons, maybe all 3 of them. So that leads me to, so what do we do? What do we do with this, right? Now that we have this information, Jared, what do we do? You told me that we'd be able to do something. Perfect. Here's what it is, okay? This isn't even before I get to how I help you and all this kind of stuff. Here's what it is. When we get our who, it's a simple statement. As a blank, as a user, as a person that's ordering my item, as a my perfect client, as a this, we talk like them. As a whatever it is you're helping them with. I want your service and product so that I can, the benefit of the benefit. The framework is right there. As a perfect client, ideal avatar client, my favorite client, as a favorite client, I want the service and product that you do so that I can benefit. That is every single framework of what we do. This has been going on for centuries, even if it's not been written. This is always what people are thinking about. Perry Marshall tells a great story. You're going into the hardware store. You don't care what hammer you get. Maybe if you've been doing this for a while, you do care. You have a choice at that point. But you don't really care about the hammer. You just want to put the nails in the wall because you want to hang a picture. You just want to make a hole with this thing that's called a hammer. And you want to be able to do it without hurting yourself, breaking it down, making a bigger mess, all that kind of stuff. You have these preferences of what you want, right? Not features. I don't care that the hammer is magnetized, that the nail stays to the head. I will later, but I don't care right now. Just tell me what can help me do this. That's the initial base of this. As a blank, I want service and offer so that I can benefit. I've been doing this as a business analyst for over 20 years. That's how we write our requirements to make sure we buy services from the right vendor. That's to make sure that we help the people that are looking for our help, that we get the right team members involved for a project that needs to be done. We get the right project manager involved. These are the things people are thinking of as they have a challenge, not necessarily a problem. They've got a challenge. You've got a solution. And we got to make them merge. And the way that I come into this, the way that this is offered to everybody in this conference, is I help piece all that together. At the very end of the day, there's two strong points that we work on together. I either help you get more clients or I help you keep your clients. And we do that with either a marketing strategy plan or our advertising, however we're getting that people in. Referral discussions, which is another part of a sales funnel, right? The other part of keeping the clients is not necessarily just system automation, which is what I really focus on, but it's more on how's that fulfillment going? What is that experience like? And when I said earlier about all the challenges, like I haven't had one that's challenged and stumped me yet. You're more than welcome to try. I welcome that challenge. If I don't do it properly or I don't think I can do it, I get you the right person that can. Just like you probably have your connections like, oh, I have a guy, I have a gal, right? We all have a person that we go to. If we don't, you're in a good space, get connected, find the right people at this point. But the way that I do that is super simple. We focus on this copy. We focus on what the sales funnel looks like. We do this together, right? This is more of a done with you aspect. You could do it on your own. I wouldn't recommend it right now, especially with the way that Q4 is going to start rolling out for 2023. A lot of the retailers are going to start popping into the marketplace. A lot of them have more money than all of us when it comes to spending money on ads. They're going to be running a lot of ads, probably some people you're going to be targeting. And because they're going to be spending more money than you in a daily budget, because they already have dedicated teams to their marketing, their design, their copywriting, and all that, and it might just be you and a small team, they're going to outperform us. That doesn't mean that we don't run the marketing. It just means now is the time to jump in there and do something about it. Now is the time to get your name, your face, your brand, your company into their line of sight. Make the impact, even if they don't do anything yet, make the impact now because we can retarget them. Inside of Facebook, you can make a custom audience of people engaging in your content. You can make a custom audience of people just engaging on your page. If they watch a specific video, you can retarget people who watched just that video and talk to them again, like I did with the whole mouth burning thing, and then talked with them about the message. Why do you think the messages work so well? It's not because I did something brand new. It's because I retargeted the people that already saw it. They already had a connection, even if it was the silliest, goofiest thing that could have been. The impact was made. Whether they rolled their eyes, they watched it a few times. I thought it got funnier the more I watched it. I'll see if I can find it. If you guys want it, let me know. I'll see if I can get that video together. But that's how this works. The retargeting that comes into play. You already have a custom audience. You already have a base of buyers. Perfect. Let's throw them into the system. Let's create a lookalike audience of existing buyers. There's a client we're working with right now that the average order value for their clients, their customers, is like $6,000. So what Facebook does is you put that together. Facebook finds those people. They say, yep, we got a match. This is good. They update their database. And then the lookalike audience says, we'll find you people that are like these clients that are likely to spend $6,000 on something like this. And we're going to show them your ad. We're talking about like warm prospecting where it's all you really have to do is like the tee is set up. You just got to connect with the ball. That's all we have to do at this point. And we do that with the foundations. So what I put together is super duper simple, right? Because I'm a super duper simple person when it comes to our work together and to getting things done. I got one more. Hold on. Isn't this great? It's so much better for me than having a presentation, because I'm fumbling through slides, and they're great. They have a purpose. But for here, we're going to use the virtual side best we can. Okay. So I'm going to slide myself out of the way. Maybe if I do it right. I have a link put together. That's omnifunnelsupport.com. That's /K conf. That's CONF. That's KCON as in Nancy, F as in Frank. I used to work customer service. You'd think I'd remember all the K as in kick, C as in Charlie, O as in Omega, N as in Nancy, F as in Frank. When you go here, this is going to have you fill out a quick marketing plan. It's well, not really a plan. It's more like a marketing questions I have for you. Inside of there is just basic questions I'm going to ask you. If you've run ads before, perfect. Answer them. If you haven't, answer them. It's fine. Super duper simple. It takes 3 or 4 minutes. What we'll do after that is we will come together. I'll reach out to you. You'll get your answers. I'll probably shoot you an email. From that space, we're going to talk about your current marketing plan. We're going to talk about your current plan, maybe even build one together. And I kid you, when I say this, I don't just say it because, oh, this is like the sales thingy. This is what you're supposed to say. I say this because this type of thing that I do with people, they have to pay for this. This is not a free thing of the review the marketing plan and coming up with the new one, right? The reason that people pay for this is because some of the plans I've already put together have netted people 2 to 3 times return on their ad spend. So what that really means is even the worst case that we do is we talk. The worst case, you fill out this form and you get some ideas just from answering questions, because some of them are a little story-based. Even from that, there is a good chance you're going to be able to get some return on your ads faster than if you didn't do it. And I share that piece because right here, right, this form aspect, that is my gatekeeping. I am super picky on who I work with. And the reason I'm super picky, if you haven't noticed, is the way that we connect together, the way that we work together, the way we do those things matters so much, because what you and I come up with, whatever plan we come up with, however we decide to do that moving forward, how if you want me looking over all the metrics, I'll do that. If you want me to put them all together, I'll do that for you. If you want me to rewrite some of the copy, I'll do that for you, right? You want me to help you build out the sales funnels, I'll do that for you, right? All those things, I am being your voice. You are telling me what needs to go there. We are having a direct connection. Our impact that we're making is 100% based on you and me getting super clear on all these foundations. So doesn't it make sense that before, I know you're just like, Jared, you're great. I'd love to work with you. Please keep them coming. I appreciate it, but hold your applause. Put the cards away. I get it. Before we even get to that stage, we got to make sure that whatever your current marketing plan is, that it's working. If it is, perfect. You just got another set of eyes in it to give you that verification that you're good to spend more money on your plan because you know it's going to work. And if it's not working, this gives a perfect opportunity to come up with something that could work, right? Again, that's omnifunnelsupport.com/KCONF. All you have to do is go to that page. It should redirect you to Typeform. If for whatever reason it doesn't, please let me know during some Q&A coming up in a hot minute here, and I can make some adjustments while we're on the fly here. But the idea, again, this is my gift to you. I want this to be something that you can focus on, that you can work on right now, right? And when we talk, it's a quick 15 minutes. If I can help you and we come to agreeable terms and we want to work together, we'll talk about what that looks like. That is not really even part of the call. The call is, tell me what you're working on. How can I help you with that? And if it makes sense and you want to do these things together, then we'll talk about that. But that's not what this is, right? This is just my understanding of where you're at and if you even need something like this. Truth be known, I may not even be able to help you with whatever your current plan is. That could happen. But if that is the case, I know somebody that could. No matter what that arena is, I know who could probably help you with what you're working on. Because really, at the end of the day, if we're not focused on getting more clients, we're focused on keeping them. And if we don't need to we have enough how do I put this? You have no problem keeping your clients. It's trying to get new ones. We're going to find whatever gaps are existing in there. And that's 2 decades plus of a business analyst being able to do that too, is picking out the pieces that maybe we've been glossing over. Right? Doesn't it hurt? It doesn't hurt to have another set of eyes just look at what you're doing. Even if you're like a mechanic and you know how to fix your car, your buddy's also a mechanic. She comes over, and all of a sudden they're just like, yeah. Why did you put it that way? Why didn't you just turn it around? I do not know how to fix cars that well. Basic stuff, right? So you have the mechanic discussions, right? And then you're like, I didn't think about that. Let me try it. Boom, it works. That's the idea. Instead of struggling and stumbling over this, why not figure it out together, come up with what we can come up with, and then it gives us a nice set to be in with that space. So that's omnifunnelsupport.com/KCONF. I appreciate you all. I think my time might be up. If not, I can ramble for another 30 seconds, but I believe we have time for Q&A, right?
Yay! Audience, can you see why Jared just had to be on the KAPPTOR Connection team? Thank you so much, Jared. We appreciate it. And I have a question for you because you mentioned that song that really connects with you. You're a musician. I'm a musician. What's your song? If you had to pick one song, what's your song?
Oh, man. All right. So I'm always put on the spot here, and it changes depending on how I'm feeling, right? But for this one, there was a very dark moment that I was going through of feeling completely down on myself with everything in the online space. I'm pretty sure we've all been here before, even just like anything in life. You just feel put down. You feel like these like heavy shackle arms are just pushing you down. Like no matter what you do, you can't get up. You just can't break free. There was a song that was written, and the name of the song is Fires in the Snow, if I'm getting this correct, right? Fire in the Snow. The idea behind that was it was truly just like breaking free of what this is going through. And I heard that, I listened to it enough, but I'm like, I've got to address this. I've got to get through this. And as I was listening to that song, it ramps up into like the middle where you think you know where it's going, but it doesn't. And I'm a super huge anime guy. I'm a super huge video game guy. So I imagine this like power up moment where it's like the hero is just kind of like beat down. And all of a sudden you hear this like spark kick off. And you see like, flames start to come off and whatever it is you want. Like it was so cool. But I started to feel every arm just like break and shatter and shadows just kind of like disappear until you had that like power moment where your arms broke open and your mouth is like you're screaming. So I got into that space. I was listening to that song and I swore up and down. I was screaming so loud. I'm like, I don't care if the family hears. I don't care if the neighbors hear it. This feels so cathartic. And when I got out of that state, my mouth was just open, but nothing was coming out. So I was having that release without disturbing anybody else. I'm like, all right, so this is probably my song for a while. I'm probably going to listen to this one for a long time.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Absolutely love it. Your presence here on this virtual stage, absolutely incredible. Love the way that you connect with the audience and explain to them why we have to have these foundational aspects. Absolutely. We do want to see the T video, please. So when you find it, be sure to send it on.
Sure.
You know what I love about what you do is there's a dual purpose for those who are looking for new clients or for those who want to keep the ones that they have. That is so important. A lot of the time we only hammer on get the new clients, get the new in business in. And sometimes we forget about the existing ones that we have. I think there you did very well. I know that because we have to keep that balance. Absolutely. Alejandro, do you have any questions? I'll check the comments if I see any questions on the feed.
Please. Well, I can tell you. Thank you so very much, Jared. I mean, first of all, I mean, I love the passion that you that you connect with people, and that is your how.
Yeah, right.
That's the how you do it, because I mean, you could just be a very boring kind of a monologue. I mean, just talking, but you love what you do, and that shows. And so that, I mean, people that listen to you, we get excited because you are excited about it. And so, but these three foundations are definitely we can definitely start applying those, and we can see differences happening because they are very powerful. It's just one word, but the power in one word is definitely going to be noticeable. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and we've got Gabby in the comments. She says, "Hello, all you beautiful people," and she really enjoyed the presentation. And I was looking at the who, the what, and the how, and I thought to
Mhm.
myself, part of what when you start with being an entrepreneur and being a business owner is to niche down.
Mhm.
Because a lot of us have a lot of good things that we're good at, but we have to kind of niche down. We can't copy and paste and do what the next person is doing. This
Mhm.
not only helps you with your marketing, it helps you to niche down. What is it that you want to focus on? And when you know what you want to focus on, there comes that joy, there comes that exuberance, because you are okay, I'm ready to go. I've got it going, and now I can just do what I'm good at. So I
Mhm.
love that you help people in the initial phases, which are the most difficult phases, because there's a lot of ideas out there and there's a lot of
Mhm.
possibilities out there. But niching down and building these blocks, building that foundation, very, very important. Absolutely incredible, wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for putting that link together.
Of
And
course.
Jared, how can they reach out to you? What is the best way for them? Do they click on that link, or do you want them to DM you on Messenger as well? Email?
Yeah, they could do. I mean, you could do all the things as far as I'm concerned. No, like I don't gatekeep that hard, right? But most times, like, because somebody asked me, it's like, so you're the funnel guy. I was known as like the sales funnel king. I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I want
Woohoo!
that. That's fighting with Russell. I don't want to get into that space. But anyway, so they were just like, what do your funnels look like? I'm like, dude, you're talking to me in Messenger. This is the best funnel you can be in. We're having a
Yes.
conversation. That's what you want. So right now, it's Facebook, Jared Barto. I think I'm the only one. I think for now. I haven't been duplicated yet. Nobody's tried to hack the account, so we'll see. I didn't get to do my hey report this profile post yet, but maybe it's coming. I don't know. Maybe.
And in closing, I just want to ask you to show you the front and the back of your shirt again, please. I just want to reiterate those words, because this is very, very good advice. The front of the shirt says, and I'm going to reiterate that because I want the audience to listen, follow Jared's instructions. And what does the back say? That's how you win. Audience, if you want to win, follow Jared's instructions, reach out to him, and make a wonderful connection. And we just appreciate you for your time. Thank you, Jared. You're amazing, bringing your expertise here on this lovely platform and making the time for us. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and congratulations to everybody here. You've already made it so far, so don't stop. Keep going, and I appreciate you all truly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Jared. Thank you very much.
See you guys.
Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.
There we go, Alejandro. That is the end of the session. My goodness, Jared brought so much value, and the way
Yeah.
that he conveys his message.
Yes.
Sometimes when we talk about certain topics, people can doze off, they can get tired, And I agree with what he said. It's the way that he delivers his message, that exuberance of his, that bubbly personality that he has, and the passion that
Yeah.
he has for what he does, that really kept us engaged, in the conversation. I made copious notes. I'm going to apply that. And I was thinking about, you know what Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. So I
Yes.
absolutely love the way how he wove everything together and how he presented it. Thank you so much, Jared. You rock. We appreciate you. And we are going to go into a lunch break now. For you, a lunch break. For me in South Africa, the South African KAPPTOR is going to have a dinner break now. So we are going to be back, I believe. What time will we be back? Let me just quickly check to make
I,
sure.
I think it's what that's right. What time are we coming back? Well,
Let's
we
check.
got JR Spear at
2 p.m.
2 o'clock. Yes, 2 p.m.
Yes, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. J.R. Spear, you won't want to miss his talk. Freeman Beals, you won't want to miss any of these. Gaby Abdelgadir. Make sure you are
Woohoo!
back at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. We'll see you guys soon.
Yes.
Yay! Bye.
Bye bye.